Now, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson wants to suspend sittings of the UK Parliament until October the 14th. Now, the move means opposition MPs are unlikely to have enough time to stop the UK from leaving the European Union without a deal.
That's due to happen on October the 31st. And Natalie Powell joins us now from London for more on this. So, Natalie, what does Mr. Johnson hope to achieve by doing this?
Well, according to Prime Minister Johnson, his plan in suspending Parliament via this process called prorogation is to then introduce a new parliamentary session, something that he says is necessary. He has a new government, of course, and therefore he needs a Queen's speech, which is the mechanism here in the UK to introduce and show the government's agenda and legislative programme. He says that some 340 days have gone by since the previous parliamentary session was announced, and therefore that is one of the longest parliamentary sessions for around about the last 400 years. So he wants that to change, and he wants to introduce the UK government's new legislative programme. Now, of course, his critics don't really believe that that is the case. They have said that they believe the reason he is doing this is to try to reduce the amount of time that they have to essentially debate Brexit, or even perhaps to come up with some sort of process to avoid a no-deal taking place, some sort of legislative process, for example. But Boris Johnson very much denying those claims, saying that that is not at all what he is doing. But if you take a look at the time frame here, he is suggesting that Parliament be suspended between the 9th of September to the 14th of October. Now, already Parliament returns from its summer recess on the 3rd of September, and there are 2 weeks, the end of September and the beginning of October, where Parliament is in recess for Parliament party conference is to take place. Those party conferences that are very important to many of those parties here in the UK Parliament. So by suspending between the 9th of September and the 14th of October, that's perhaps another additional week where Parliament is not sitting to debate. But Boris Johnson earlier on saying that he denies these claims by opposition MPs, and we can take a listen to what he had to say earlier.
That is completely untrue. If you look at what we're doing, we're bringing forward a new legislative programme on crime, on hospitals, making sure that we have the education funding that we need. And there will be ample time on both sides of that crucial October the 17th summit, ample time in Parliament for MPs to debate the EU, to debate Brexit and all the other issues. Ample time.
Natalie, the pound taking a dive, and I'm sure the ripples continue. How's the opposition responding?
Well, unsurprisingly, Labour leader, opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn has called this reckless. He is actually suggesting that the government should call a new general election, or indeed a second referendum. There is some suggestion, therefore, that a vote of no confidence in the government may be called for, but they will have to do it quickly. A few MPs are possibly looking into the process of legislating against the Queen's speech, but given that it's been signed off by the Queen herself, that looks fairly unlikely. But perhaps some of the harshest words have really come from the Speaker of the House of Commons, John Bercow, who has described this as a constitutional outrage. By saying this, he's saying that essentially the government is trying to prevent MPs, politicians, from paving that path for the country that those parliamentarians, those lawmakers are there to make. So calling it a constitutional outrage. So clearly it has not gone down very well with a number of Boris Johnson's critics.
I can imagine. Natalie, many thanks as always for that. Natalie Powell reporting live from London.